I went through a divorce and I was like, I need a job and a place to live. So I went to start shopping apartments and the girl said, you have a great personality. Have you ever thought of leasing or hiring? And I was like, no, but I need a job and a place to live. Oh, we give a discount. I'm like, sign me up. Literally, that's how it all started.
That's awesome. But before that, you were doing something else.
I was a hairdresser for 10 years.
What is that like?
Hard work. You're standing on your feet, back breaking. But
in this episode of Humans of Multifamily, I sit down with Kara Thompson, VP of Operations at Oakwood Management Company. She spent 10 years behind the salon chair, building trust, listening deeply, and mastering the art of connection. A divorce, a need for housing, and a job opening led her into multifamily. Now, as a leader in the industry, she leads with empathy, grit, and heart. Her story is raw, real, and a reminder that leadership doesn't require a straight path, just the courage to keep going. Don't miss this episode.
I think, how did I become this strong person? Again, I became a single mother, twice divorced, had to make a living, succeeded because of my hard work and ethic. And I'm like, where did this strength come from? Because I've always had a chip on my shoulder that I didn't have a college degree and felt that it held me back a lot, even though in this industry, a lot of people don't, because it does end up becoming a career. And if you're successful, you can make a good living at it. So in the back of my mind, I think I had to prove something, that it's not always what you know, it's who you know and how you act and how your work ethic is.
Do you feel like there's any upside with anxiety or stress?
Whew.
Property managers lose hours chasing rent, while delinquency and filing costs add up to massive losses. The financial impact? Millions in unpaid rent sold to collections agencies that recover just 20 to 30%, while taking a huge cut. Now, the Kelsey you trust for leasing helps you recover more rent in-house, reducing reliance on agencies and maximizing revenue. With Collections AI, Kelsey automates rent and move-out collections, from the first missed payment to move-out, while ensuring compliance across jurisdictions. Easily train and set up Kelsey on your company's collections process, including CARES and state-regulated workflows. She doesn't just set reminders. Kelsey answers resident questions, tracks promise to pay dates, and follows up persistently to keep payments on track. Need oversight? Corporate teams can monitor collections in real time with Zuma's dashboard, while site teams use the Chrome Assistant to track payments and even respond as Kelsey when needed. Kelsey also evaluates resident risk with AI, providing instant insights to help you make smarter renewal decisions. The impact? Doubles collections velocity, reduces filings, cuts site team workload by 85%. Stop leaving rent revenue on the table. Let Zuma's Collections AI handle the heavy lifting while you focus on what matters. Get started today.
Awesome. Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We are sitting, where are we sitting? In Columbus right now? In
Delaware.
Delaware, yeah. In a RV park that was extremely hard to get to.
It
but
was.
We finally made it here.
We did.
I want to start a little bit about, grew up with a single mother.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about where you grew up and your upbringing.
Always been in Columbus, Ohio. My father passed away when I was 4. It was just my sister and I and then my mom. And, she worked her tail off for both my sister and I. So, we always had gymnastics class and we never went without. And actually she was in the property management business because back then you got a deal on your apartment. So single mom, working a couple jobs to make ends meet for my sister and I. So, and it didn't even dawn on me until like my 30s. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing what my mother did.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've noticed that whenever you ask somebody about their background or upbringing, it might seem unique or special to other people. And oftentimes people don't think their background is unique or special.
Right.
Like if I talk to people, I'm like, they grew up on a farm, on a small farm. And I was like, how was that like growing up? And they're like, well, like I didn't know anything else.
Right.
So it's just it's interesting to hear that. And so how old is your sister relative to you?
She's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
So she's 63.
63. Okay, yeah. Cool. And what was your relationship with her growing up?
We're opposites, but we had our sister battles every once in a while. I always said she was the ones with the brains. She went to college, got her graduate degree in psychology, but then ended up being the mom that stayed home with 2 kids and never did her college degree, master's degree. So
Yeah. And what was your role? What was like education's role for you growing up? Like, did you pay attention in school a lot, or what was?
no, I was that social bunny. Yeah, grew up in the Columbus City schools, which doesn't have the best reputation. They're still struggling. And it was my freshman year that my mom said, "Okay, we're going to get out of the Columbus City." I struggled. I was a cheerleader. I played field hockey. I just all the social things. That's why I was there. The knowledge and the education came second. But graduated high school and it was like everyone was signing up for college. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Okay, I'll sign up for college like everyone else. I wanted to be Janet Jackson or Paula Abdul was my dream. I wanted to sing. I wanted to dance.
Really?
Can't sing. But I can dance. But I'm also 4'11" and a half.
Oh, I didn't see you were sitting all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so is Paula Abdul.
And why did you want to do art? Well, the arts. Why were you interested in it?
I think because I struggled so much with accounting and math and history, and it was always the arts.
And that's just where you gravitate towards.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
4 years old, starting dance lessons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dance.
And your mom just put you in it.
Yep. Dance, gymnastics, all that.
That's really cool. And it's so funny to hear about, like, I feel like almost everybody gets into this industry with, like, the very similar
plan.
story. No plan.
Exactly.
And also just, like, the free apartment thing, because it's actually pretty enticing when you're just graduating or just, like, getting into the workforce. Somebody offers you a free apartment. That's pretty enticing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how it started for me was I went through a divorce and I was like, I need a job and a place to live. So I went to start shopping apartments and the girl said, you have a great personality. Have you ever thought of leasing? We're hiring. And I was like, no, but I need a job and a place to live. Oh, we give a discount. I'm like, sign me up. And literally that's how it all started.
That's awesome. But before that, you were doing something else.
I was a hairdresser for 10 years. So when I couldn't, did 2 quarters at Ohio State and decided it wasn't for me. I was going to waste mom's money. So I was sitting on the back porch and heard a radio ad for cosmetology school. And I thought, so signed up and became a cosmetologist and did that for 10 years.
What is that like?
Hard work. You're standing on your feet, back-breaking. But I loved the people, meeting new people, building relationships. The industry is fun. A lot of fun people.
How does it differ relative to like multifamily? I feel like you're kind of describing multifamily in some ways.
Absolutely. And I think I see that it's people-oriented. I feel like in multifamily, we may lose track that it's technology is everything, but it's really a personal relationship. And same with, when I was doing hair, it was the people, my boss at the hair salon said, 90% of people come to you because they like you, not because you can cut hair. So, and I think it's the same in sales in a sense.
Yeah, we had an investor, actually was one of the co-founders of Apartment List. And I remember in the early days when we were first entering this industry, because I didn't come from multifamily at all. I came from like tech. So my background is I went to USC and did engineering and did consulting and somehow like fell into real estate and by way of actually building a property management company. So we built a property management company that got affected by COVID. It was a short-term rental property management company, Airbnbs.
Okay.
And we had to pivot because nobody was traveling short-term. So we had to pivot into building, renting them out long-term. And, when we pivoted, we started building this business. One of the first investors would tell me, he's like, eventually when the company becomes big enough, your job is basically just going to be building relationships in this industry, right? And it's actually very different than a lot of industries. Like when you look at a lot of traditional like tech or software or SaaS companies, it's much less relationships driven. And I think that's like something that I've learned recently and over the years is you really have to prioritize that because, I was talking with somebody yesterday doing a podcast, and one of the things I was saying was it's relationships from the vendor to the property management company. Like vendors obviously are trying to do, dinners and all of these things, but I think it's equally advantageous for the property management company to actually invest in the relationship, because when you're partnering with tools, you want to make sure that you are getting the best service, right?
Absolutely.
And oftentimes, like, that is built on a relationship. If I have a good relationship with Kara and she has an issue with her product and it's my product, obviously I'm going to be more attentive.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's why it makes sense. Because I think initially I was like, well, should property management companies choose the best solution, or should they choose the solution that they have a relationship with? First, I was like, okay, maybe it's the best solution. But I think ultimately what I realized is you should invest in relationships, because the service will be better and everything overall will be better.
Absolutely. And I think with all the new technology coming out in this industry, you always meet with 2 or 3. Do you want to get those quotes and get the differences? And it's the people that I connect with, that it's not just so much the product. It's, do they have a sense of humor? Do they, not the hard sale, but, getting to what we are actually looking for. What can you offer me? And it's just, it's interesting, the different people.
Yeah, it is. I feel like this has been like a universal truth. Like everybody says, invest in like relationships are important. It's a people business, etc. What do you feel like is something that you believe in that is like in some ways controversial or like common? Because everybody says like invest in relationships. It's a
Right.
people industry.
Right.
Do you have a view about the industry that you feel like is a little bit non-conventional?
I think it's that, it's technology. I just, I'm old school where I still feel we should send a handwritten thank you note to any prospect that comes to the door. We've gotten away with that. Now they're sending texts and, emails and that kind of stuff. But I just still, that's how I was raised. And I just still feel that personalization. We've gotten lost from it. So that's always my big thing is.
Yeah. So before when you first came into the industry, was that what people were doing before?
Oh yeah. That's how I was
Really?
trained as a leasing. Yeah, you wrote a thank you, and you made sure you remembered their dog's name and come back in. I want to, give you your new home. So yeah, personalization was huge.
And where do you think it got lost along the way, just with all the technology?
Yep, the CRMs, it automatically will send something, and they're as much as you can somewhat edit them, they're still just not that. You took the time to handwrite me, and I got it in my mailbox.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to John Cook from Bell Partners about this. And I feel like with AI, we're going to go through almost a resurrection of that, right? Because it feels like now people and on-site teams are spending all this time before technology just managing these tools, like
Right.
logging into these dashboards and updating the CRM and doing all this stuff, where I feel like what AI is going to do is it's going to take all of that work that was like manual and mundane and created by technology in some ways, ideally automate it, and then actually bring back that time for people to write the handwritten thank you notes and create that personalized
Absolutely.
experience.
I think so as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Game changer.
Yeah, totally. Through your years in the industry, you started as a leasing agent. At what point did you think that you were going to stay in the industry, or was it just you going with the flow? And
Absolutely. I don't think I ever thought, oh, this is my career. And I think a lot of people don't think it's a career. But yeah, I started in leasing in 6 months, I was promoted and I just kept building my way. Hard work is what I was raised on. So I pride myself on that today that, now as a VP, almost 30 years later, I don't forget those days when I was a leasing agent and you have 9 tours waiting on you on a Saturday, so I think that's what I take pride in. That makes me a good leader.
yeah.
But
And when you say hard work is what you were raised on, did your mom explicitly talk about the importance of working hard, or was it more something that you observed? Because I think what I'm really interested in is when I talk to people about what has been super influential in making them who they are today. More often than not, they say, oh, I saw this person doing this growing up, or I would watch my mom or dad take business calls, or I would see them wake up early. And it's much less common to be like, oh yeah, my parents always told me to X, Y, Z.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was more of a visual. Yes.
What was her day like? What do you remember?
You know, it was get us up, make the breakfast, get dressed. Like we always had a meal. We tooting us from, gymnastics or whatever it was, just constant. We had a dog always, and that was cool. I just never felt like I missed out on anything. She just was always there. It wasn't, she had a great sense of humor. But there were times where I saw her cry, and I think because probably overworked and knowing that her girls want to go to college and where she could, get the money. But I don't know, she just never, she kept the crying to herself and just was so inspirational. And of course, I think back then in my 20s, I didn't realize it. It's when you get older and you say, wow, this is how I learned this work ethic was from her.
What do you feel like some of the other things you only realized in your later years?
Non-selfish. Like she just was the least selfish person. And I think I always said I would never have children because I'm a selfish person. I'm never going to be like my mom. I'm set in my ways and all that. But obviously, I did end up having a child. And so she I couldn't imagine being a single mom, raising two girls 5 years apart and working two jobs. And I went through a bout when I was 13. I can remember this day like it was yesterday. I can tell you what I had on. And I woke up to go to school and had a panic attack. First ever. I didn't know what was happening. But I threw a fit on the floor and said, I don't want to go. I can't go to school. I don't want to go to school. Long story short, I have suffered from anxiety, but she knew that wasn't Kara, and immediately took me to the doctor. And back then, anxiety or depression, just wasn't talked about, and ended up getting me in counseling. And it was 30 days where I was pretty much agoraphobic. I didn't leave the house. They stemmed it from my father passing away at such a young age, and I never dealt with that grieving because I was 4 and not understanding that at some point something traumatic like that will come back. And that's what said that, why that day, no one knows. Sorry not to go off on a tangent, but she just knew. And, most doctors said, put her on medication. She's like, no. There's got to be something else. And got me in with a great therapist. And slowly but surely every day, like we would drive, couldn't get on the bus, but she would drive me to the parking lot. And I'd, okay, then the next day I'd go to the parking lot and then I'd walk to the front door of the school. And then the next day I'd go to my locker. Literally, it was a 30-day process to get me back into where I could finish a whole day of school and then get normalized and back into school.
That must have been pretty hard.
It was, especially because, your counselors and your teachers think, oh, she's just being a brat. She just doesn't want to come to school. They didn't understand it. No one understood it but my mom. So,
and this was...
I was 13, so...
A while? Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was like when it was much less accepted.
Absolutely. Yeah, no one. I mean, the doctors didn't even really know how to diagnose me at first, but yeah.
So what did you think? What were you thinking?
I was crazy. Oh my gosh, I'm crazy. What's wrong with me? It was terrifying. It was the worst. You can't explain it to anyone. The fear is just gut-wrenching, and there's no reason. They try and figure out what are you afraid of? What are that you're going to die? That you're going to, it was. It's mind-boggling, but it takes over, and it was crippling. But I got through it, and on and off therapy. There were times where it would come back.
Yeah, one of my best friends, 2 years ago, had a extreme panic attack, and basically for 9 months, like had to like stop his job, like take a leave of absence, like move to Seattle with his like cousins. His parents are from India, so his parents weren't there, and described to me that he'd like not wish that on like
Your worst.
his worst enemy. And it was just like exactly what you said. There's no reason. There was nothing that extreme happened.
Logical about it, yeah.
And it's impacted him so much that he now wants to make it his life's work to like help people who are
Yes.
dealing with that. I've never experienced a panic attack. I've seen like family members have them. But I have experienced and do experience like extreme anxiety where it just feels like impending doom. Where
Right.
you're just like, I don't know why, but you just feel like this like insane impending doom.
Right. And people who really start, then you spiral. You know, it starts out as just, oh, I'm stressed about something. And then we never know how to stop it. We let it spiral and spiral to where we're, you know, immobilized. Like, oh my gosh, get me out of this situation now.
And I assume it's gotten better over the years.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I did the same thing. I was working with a therapist, and she had group therapy. And we actually, like 5 of us, were trying to write a book about it. And so we met often and shared. Unfortunately, I think everyone just kind of had to go their own way, and we never ended up writing the book. But it was amazing not amazing, but to realize you're not alone, because you truly think no one else is crazy like this. And so this therapist, she's probably one of my most cherished people in the world, because she got me through this, and I saw her for years. But yeah.
Yeah. I honestly can't imagine how much more difficult it was like back then.
Yeah.
Because now there's so much education about it. At least you know you're not crazy, right?
Ex-
Like you know you're not crazy, which is actually a big deal.
Right.
To know you're not crazy versus like you going through this and then also thinking you're crazy at the same time, because everybody's like, what is like, why are you, like, what's the issue?
In middle school, especially, because, you know, they're
Yeah.
so critical. And my friends are like, why isn't she riding the bus? Like, you know, I was a cheerleader. And so my mom had to drive me behind the bus to go to the cheerleading game. And I mean, how, you know, and just the cruelty that kids were, no one understood it. And that's where I think of my sister and her psychology background. I can picture it. It was, she was getting frustrated, right? Because not only was I not leaving the house, but I didn't want my mother to leave the house. I felt safe. And my sister came up and she's like, you just have this built up energy. So she's like, right now we're having a pillow fight. And I was like, no. And we just bashed each other with pillows. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Like, she wanted a cure too. And she just kept telling me, it's because you just sit here and think about it all day long. You've got to exert some of that adrenaline energy. And so both of them were really, really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, middle school is tough. Middle school is really tough. I didn't have, I had a similar like big incident that happened in middle school where I ended up getting into like this argument with one of my friends. And I went to a school. So I actually grew up in the Bay Area, but moved to India when I was 12
Oh, wow.
and went to an international school there from 12 to 18. It's supposed to be like a 3-year work assignment for my dad, but we ended up staying there. And I ended up moving and actually like making a lot of friends and being social and all this stuff. But in 8th grade, I ended up getting into a fight with one of these friends, and it was my school was what was called boarding and day scholar, which meant that some people lived on campus and some people like traveled. And the people that lived on campus, as you can imagine, you know, as teenagers and, you know, middle school, they're away from their parents, they become super close. Right. I ended up getting into a fight with one of the guys who was like the leader of that school, that little thing. And the next day I come to school and everybody is completely ignoring me. There's like my last name is Gettu. And on people's like casts and their arms, they wrote GIG, which is Gettu is gay. I'm not gay, but kids are just
Wow.
like taunting. And for 3 months, like this would go on. And I basically like spent time in the bathroom alone and like didn't have any friends and like remember riding the bus to school, basically like getting taunted. And it it's pretty remarkable how these instances can have so much weight on who you end up becoming or who you are,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
And I've just put together those dots recently,
Mm-hmm.
just having reflected on like, okay, like maybe I feel like I always need to prove myself. Like maybe that's why,
Right.
you know? Or maybe because I'm a middle child and, you know, growing up, my grandparents would give all the attention to my older sister and younger brother. And I remember seeing that, oh, maybe that's why I feel like I need to prove myself to the world. And it's actually really useful to like reflect. And I've noticed that either because people, it's really hard to do that, to like confront, or it just doesn't come naturally. But I've noticed a lot of people don't do that, you know, but it's really important because that's how you solve the problem, or that's how you at least get awareness is the first step.
Right. Right. Yeah. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Right. You know, and when I was in middle school, that's when desegregation started. And that was the year that this happened. And, you know, my memory of that year was constant paddling. Like I didn't learn anything my 8th and 9th grade year. It was just paddling or fights. I remember going to the bathroom and seeing these drug pills in the bottom of the toilet. Like it was a crazy time. And I think maybe that's where I got my bad taste of school. I just was like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't, you know. Eventually, when we moved out of the Columbus City schools and I got into a neighborhood, it was, you know, my freshman through senior was much better. But again, it was tough to be accepted. I was the new girl, you know. So it's just, yeah, school's not a warm fuzzy for me.
And how have you been able to deal with anxiety over the years? It sounds like therapy was a big thing.
Absolutely,
Have
yeah.
you been doing therapy since from 13 onwards?
I haven't had therapy in probably 6, 7 years. But there were times through marriage, I hate to say it, but I do feel as though it probably ruined my first marriage. The anxiety came back after being fine for 5, and that's the other thing. I was fine for 5 years. And then it just hit me again. So back in therapy, back in, you know, all the breathing techniques and all that kind of stuff. But I think I wasn't happy. I got married because I was 28. Everyone else had gotten married. So, you know, I think that's what brought it back. I was hiding all these feelings. But yeah, but I haven't had to be in therapy. And now, mind you, like for years, I had to sit at an aisle in a movie theater. Like there are still things that just over so many years of having it that I still do. So like when I'm in a movie theater, I have to be on the aisle. I just have to find the way out. Even though I'm not anxious or, you know, it's weird. It's mind-boggling.
What about planes and stuff?
Oh, God, I had a fear of planes forever, ever, ever. Could not fly. If I did, I had to take Xanax. I worked for a company and we were having a like a company event in Kansas City. I had to drive. I was the only one that drove. But lo and behold, probably the last 8 years, I've been flying more than ever. I enjoy it. Don't have a fear, can sit by the window. Yeah. So, yeah, they always wanted me to do one of those simulations. And I was like, oh, God, no. So somehow.
What is this? What simulation?
Where you, like, they have places for people who have anxiety on flying and they'll put you, like, you have to, you know. And I never did that. I just eventually, finally, I guess, enjoyed enough to travel that I got over it.
Yeah. And so through the years, do you feel like there's any upside with anxiety or stress?
Ooh, I mean, I
'Cause
definitely.
there's a book called The Upside of Stress. I haven't read it, but I think the premise is that like stress is a driver, and,
Right.
like, allows you to take action and all that stuff.
Right. Definitely. I think, how did I become this strong person? Again, I became a single mother, twice divorced, you know, had to make a living and succeeded because of my hard work and ethic. And I'm like, where did this strength come from? Because I've always had a chip on my shoulder that I didn't have a college degree, and felt that it held me back a lot, even though in this industry, a lot of people don't, because it does end up becoming a career. And if you're successful, you can make a good living at it. But so in the back of my mind, I think I had to prove something, that it's not always what you know, it's who you know and how you act and how your work ethic is.
I feel like the world has changed so much from
Okay.
like I remember I was talking to Carrie Hall she's from Clear Property Management, and we were talking about college degrees, and she was like, "Oh, I don't have one," and I could sense that there was like this, like kind of like she felt a little bit embarrassed, and I asked her about it because my interpretation of college, like not having a college degree, growing up in Silicon Valley, where dropping out of college was like this cool thing, but obviously you start a company and things, but I feel like the world has changed so much where it's not even going to matter, I don't think.
Right.
With all the tools and ChatGPT and AI and being able to learn and YouTube. And in some ways, it's almost, in my opinion, more respectable when somebody can like not have to use a degree to like get to where they are.
Exactly. Like math was hated math. You know, my 7th grade algebra A teacher basically said, don't ever take another math class, Kara. It's just not in your cards. And so now I looking at financials and budgets. And
You remember her saying that?
Oh, I do.
Was that that wasn't like that must have not felt like a joke back then.
No, again.
That's like a pretty scarring thing to
Isn't
say.
it?
It's crazy.
Yes.
Because, math is actually one of those things I've read where most of the reason why people are not good at math is because like they get in their head. It's like one of those things where, like I'm not good at directions at all. Hence why it took me so long to get here. And it's something I've always told myself. Similarly, conversely, I've always told myself I'm good at math. And as a kid, and I was obsessed with math. I would like do before bed. I would I love doing the times tables and like calculating and doing mental math and stuff. It was like super fun for me. So it's always been this ingrained thing that like math is like fun and like I love mental math and I'm good at it.
Right.
And that's the story I've told myself. And I feel like most of these things are like stories that you tell yourself that like really just limit your ability to even get good at it.
Exactly. Like the tests, trying to get my real estate license. When it came to the numbers and the financial stuff, I was like, panic attack, didn't finish it in time. It took me 3 times to pass it. So I feel like you're absolutely right. I get in my head the minute I know there's a section because I've never felt confident about it.
Yeah,
So.
and you think could largely be attributed to
Dang.
like her or what your teacher said in 7th grade?
Oh, absolutely. The fact that I remember him saying, Kara, don't ever take another algebra class or a math class.
And what was his expression? Just like joke? He was
I think he was just as serious. Like it was awful. And all my friends loved him as a math teacher. So once again, I was the only one that, when I signed up for college and they're like, well, you're going to take math 050. I was like, yep, that's high school math. I'm going to try it.
So you said all your friends. Do you feel like you felt like the black sheep in like middle school and high school, or like isolated?
Yes and no. As far as education, but I would see all my friends who also were rebels. And I don't know if it's because their parents were stricter and, made them sit at home and study. My mom never was, you've got to get straight A's. She was like, if you get a C, Kara, we're all good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so in some ways it was like a lot of unconditional love.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I just know like all the friends wanted to come to my house. Like they hated being at home with their strict parents and, and I think that pressure and that was it. They had to go to college and the majority of them aren't even doing what they chose to do in college. So there's a part of me that's like, it's okay, Kara. Look where you are. Look what you've done. It wasn't the end all be all.
And you mentioned you have a daughter?
I have a son.
Oh, you have a son.
Yes.
How old is he?
He's 23.
23.
Yeah.
What has your parenting philosophy been like raising him?
A lot like my mom. He too didn't do very well in school. And it wasn't pressure. again, I had such a fear of being a parent, thinking, and I think it was from the anxiety, thinking, there's no way I can be a parent. I could barely get through life on my own with all my anxiety. And so he's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I really thought I'm going to be a workaholic. I'm not going to have children. I'm selfish, blah, blah, blah. So having him has been the best thing. And I think he's my buddy because his father and I divorced when he was 8. And it was ugly. Father became a drug addict. So it was him and I getting through the world and getting him through school. And I'll never forget his first panic attack driving to school. And I thought, oh my God, I've doomed him. He's inherited my anxiety, you know. So quickly got him in therapy. It was short-lived, thankfully. But yeah, he's a wonderful human being. Anytime, like at babysitters or in school, parents would tell me he is the most polite kid. He is the most, just a good kid. And I pat myself on the back. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
as you should.
Yeah.
I've actually had that feeling too, about feeling like I'm like too selfish of a person to like because I see some people and I'm like, damn, I don't know how, if I would do that. Where do you think that feeling came from? Like, why do you feel like you were selfish?
I guess thinking back of my mom and wow, you know, you got to feed them, you got to bathe them, you got to get them, you know, like, what if I just want to sit around and drink coffee in the morning and plan my day? Like just those things, and watching my mom nonstop. The kitchen didn't get cleaned up till we got home. You know, we had chores and, you know, but it was get us to school, get her job. So I think that's where again, made the impact.
And what do you feel like why has it changed? Why has having a kid changed your worldview that much?
I think again, I wanted, you know, there's no book on it. I don't know what's right, what's wrong. I'm already thinking he's damaged because mom and dad went through a divorce. I was on a wing and a prayer that I'm going to continue to be me. I've gotten through traumatic experiences. I'm going to love him. I'm going to guide him in the best way I can. Because, you know, you're like, I have girlfriends that have 4 and 5 kids and half of them are messed up. So I was always like, thank God I had one and done. But you just hope that you've done it right. And here he is, came out of nowhere, but he's in the Coast Guard. He's going into a mission response team. The kid never liked swimming pools. He was certain there were sharks in it. And he's just thriving. And so every day I'm like, okay, it's okay. He's going to be okay. And so is mom.
You mentioned at some point that you were a hairdresser and obviously you changed careers. Why did you change careers?
Due to a marriage, actually. He did not approve of me cutting men's hair in the evenings. Because, you know, hairdressers work 10 to 8 o'clock at whatever. Needless to say, he made me quit my job. And then months later, I found out he was having an affair. And it was divorce time, sell the house. So that's when I was without a job and a home. So I think I just thought I need something more, you know, because it's commission based when you're doing hair. I need something more routine coming in. And that's how I got into leasing and got into the career. Strangely enough.
So let's talk a little bit about almost like I would say 80% of people, or maybe no, probably 90% of people I've talked to like started in the industry and is still here. Through the last few decades of being in the industry, who do you feel like has been really impactful in your career and your development and who you are and how you show up at work?
You know, I've worked for some amazing people and I've worked for some not amazing people. Actually, the girl, Amy is her name, that when I showed up my first day as the leasing job, she was the assistant manager. She's still in the industry. We worked together for years. Then we separated and went to different companies, but we were like best of friends. And it's probably those relationships I met. You know, we worked for a company that had a really tough leader, president. To this day, everyone can now say she was a bit psycho, but we worked with her for a long time. I just think having her by my side and we're going to figure this out. she too didn't go to college. She kind of ended up in this. But then there were leaders along the way, because I was never a job hopper either. I was my first property management job. I was there 10 years. And I thought I'd stay there forever. And then 2008 hit and the market crashed. But I just kept proving myself. And I don't think it was to anyone's push. It was my own. It was myself. I told Paul, my marketing director, this story. We had just taken over a Class D property, which wasn't in our normal, we were AB. And I was 8 months pregnant. And the owner was coming in to view the property. And so par for my course, I'd get there 2 hours before to walk the property, make sure. And I walked, it was August, it was like 85 degrees. And I walked in and it was a interior building, had 3 levels. And someone had taken a kitty litter and dumped it from the 3rd floor all the way down to the 1st floor. I walked in, the smell, again, I was 8 months pregnant. It was 85 degrees out. And I'm like, I have an hour to get this cleaned up. I cleaned up every piece of that kitty litter, waiting for my boss and this owner to come in. And they never knew, never had a clue. What made me do that? I think 90% of people would have said, screw this, I'm out. I did it.
Are you a people pleaser? Would you say? Do you gravitate towards being a people pleaser?
I love building a team, but I think I don't go out of my way. I listen, which is, I think, rare. A lot of times in I find in leadership, they didn't want to listen. They just told you what to do. Whereas I'm very collaborative. I want my team. A lot of times when you're a property manager, people would be like, oh God, they're going to take my leasing agent from me. I knew it. I thrived on that. I'm like, they're taking her. She's promoted because of me. So that was always I'm going to take all these people with me and see them through and not hold anyone back. And maybe that's because how I felt, but I always got recognition for it. Those people, still to this day will say, Kara, you were the greatest thing that ever happened in this industry. When they just posted my VP promotion, some of the kindest things people said was, you were just there for me, and warms my heart, makes it all, make sense.
What other stories do you have of crazy things that have happened on site in buildings?
There's so many. There's been a couple bad. I remember having a leasing agent who had a prospect go after in a model. We had always said, you always take your cell phone with you. Back then, I think we had walkie-talkies. And she did get a hold of the maintenance guy. But it was terrifying. I'd been doing it probably 10 years and thinking, what? People do that? It was just so sad. And of course, she was in shock for a long time. But other stories that are good, one's funny. I was a leasing agent, and it was a Saturday, and a gentleman came in, and he, I swear to you, was Dracula. He looked like Dracula,
Really?
And I got in my head, and I was alone, and he wanted to see a model. So I showed him a model, and then he said, well, I want to see, it was a 3-level, and he, outdoor breezeways, and he said, can we go up to the 3rd level? I just want to see what that feels like. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to throw me over the ledge. It's Dracula. He's going to bite my neck. So I literally was like, sir, after you, and let him go up first. Again, never forgot the story, because I swear but I'm here. He didn't bite me, and it was all good.
So tell me about your leadership philosophy. Like, how do you see yourself as a leader? It sounds like you said you're collaborative, which is important to you, but what other, if you were to define a set of values, if you were running your own company or wanted to impart with your team, what are those values? Coaching,
I know, is kind of a word. Transformational. Just my biggest thing, and what I work with my teams, is let's find these efficiencies. Let's work smarter, not harder. And that's where I feel like my people get challenged. They're like, oh, okay, this makes total sense. I'm a realist. I don't sugarcoat a lot. I'm pretty direct, which people will tell you. But they also then know it's no She's not putting fluff on it, Kara, And I'm with them along the way. Even though I've become a VP, I am still every day talking with my trainers or talking with the marketing. Like, I will never lose sight of that. They're all a part of what ends up being successful for the company. So, so many times you'll see people who just kind of get focused and this is all they do. And, which I have struggled with, I will say, with the age, the millennials, and, it's 5:00. I'm out, not 5:02, not, that's been kind of a challenge for me. Or what do you mean work a Saturday? 'Cause I just
did it.
I just did it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I wish people saw it more like the way you see it, because I think, the argument for the millennials is like, I'm going to only work the hours that I'm paid and like all that stuff. Obviously that's true. You're going to get paid if you work more hours.
Right.
But I think the advantage of going above and beyond is the more you go above and beyond, the more skills you get, and then the more you're making yourself indispensable.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And you want to be indispensable. It's good. You want to be the person that is adding so much value, because then you have job security. You have, like, if you're the best at something, like, everybody is going to know that, and you're going to get a job here at the company you're at another company.
Right.
And I think it's all about in the early days, like building your skills, making yourself. There's this book called "So Good They Can't Ignore You," and the premise is very similar, which is like all you need to do in the beginning of your career is like become so good that people can't ignore you.
Right.
And otherwise, you're just at risk. You're not becoming great. You're not building skills, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And there were times where I'd work my tail off, and there wasn't any appreciation. And then I'd be like, do they even care? And people would tell me, why do you work so hard? Why are you working so, why? And I never really had an answer, just that this is what I know and this is what I do. And you're right. I've since had to find jobs, or headhunters reached out to me, found me, and, was hired. And I think it's because of my story, and, I'm not afraid of hard work, and look what I've done here, and here. So
yeah,
absolutely.
And it makes you much more indispensable.
Yeah.
Which I think is should be a lot of people's goals.
Right.
Where are you excited about where the industry is going? What excites you?
Oh, wow. Just the fact that it's still so strong of a market. Like, I remember thinking, this can't last. The first company I worked for, they had 2 properties, and we built to 26 in the 10 years I was there. And here I am 20 years later, and the company I'm with, we are opening, 20 new sites. We're up to 60 some. We started at 8,000. Now we have 12,000 units. It just is mind-boggling. And there's people filling them. They're still needed, and they're, all A, B, C. It's I know the big thing now right now is affordability, but it just amazes me. I never first thought that I would be a VP in this industry. I thought, I'll lease for years and maybe be a prop. So yeah.
So what makes people like? Because there are many examples of people that start as leasing agents and then end as a leasing agent in some cases, or a property manager. Is it that you feel like you just like kept taking on more work and like doing more and going above and beyond, or what? Like, what is it, do you think, precisely that separates the people that stay as leasing agents versus like grow?
Right. Because a lot of times they will say that you're either good at sales or you're good at the administrative. You're never good at both. And I beg to differ. I think I was good at both. Like I said, I was never a hard salesperson, and I built the relationship. I always closed my sales with sense of humor. And I think I built that doing hair and just getting to know people. But yeah, I feel like I built reputations. But then I was also good at the paperwork. Like I'm OCD, I'm organized. There's a place for everything. So I think the fact that I could balance both was a plus for me. Because I think there are people that are born and bred sales. That wasn't me. I liked both. So
yeah, I was actually, we use Slack for
Oh.
our like communication, and I was reading a Slack message last night because we're hiring a salesperson, it's called a BDR, which is like the person that will do cold calls and emails and all that stuff. And Alan, our sales leader, was describing to the recruiter, it's like, hey, we actually like the ideal profile is somebody that was like a hairdresser, because you're kind of like forced to make conversation, or you have to be good at making conversation, making people feel
Right,
comfortable.
exactly.
So it's funny that he brought that might have lent itself well to you building relationships on the leasing side, I imagine.
Yes, definitely. And the other thing I hear is either if they're in this industry or they go into nursing. A lot of time people have been in nursing and do this industry. So
Nursing, really?
yeah. I don't know if it's that relationship building but yeah, a lot of people will like get in this while they're going to nursing school and then end up staying.
That's really interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Complete, yeah.
Care, maybe having high empathy, being able to build a...
Right.
How much do you think the ability to build a relationship with a prospect or resident influences their decision to lease or stay at a property?
Again, 90% of it's
Think
kind of the
it's
same thing, as a hairdresser. You don't have to be the best hairdresser. It's the person that people come back to because they like you. And that's what I think, because, now there's so much competition, and that's where I stress with the sales. There's so many cool amenities, it's a tough market, but if you personalize and if you treat them with respect and just be you, I think that's what'll make or break the sale.
And what about retention?
Same. They say the prospect or the new resident makes their, decision whether they're going to renew that first couple months. So, again, it's going out of your way. That's all. I think the renewal system has always been the hardest one to overcome. So many companies have tried so many different things because you just get so busy, and then the poor resident, you moved him in, you gave him a move-in gift, and then here we are, 10 months later getting a letter, okay, we're raising your rent $200, and I think we've gotten a lot better in, we need to do these quarterly touch bases, and we need to let them know we appreciate them more, and whether it be resident events or, we'll do just some crafty marketing things, candy bars, on the renewal, just the littlest
and these
thing.
little things matter.
They do. I think so.
Yeah. And why? Just because people feel appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I was chatting with Ariel yesterday, and she was talking about something called the power of wow that they have in their company, where they're trying to basically deliver these like wow moments that people remember. It was my birthday on Sunday. And
happy belated.
Thank you. And I was on a flight, and United air hostess like came up to me and was like, "Oh, like it's your birthday today. Like, happy birthday. Like, what do you want?
Oh my God.
Can I get you a drink, or can I get you snacks? It's on us." And that never happened to me. And I was like, "Oh wow, like this is kind of crazy." And I didn't get anything, but I kind of walked away from that being like, damn, I kind of like United a little bit more.
Right.
And it's like such a small thing, but if you deliver those like wow moments,
Absolutely.
where you kind of surprise and delight somebody, it creates this like connection with the property or with the leasing team. And I feel like it can be more valuable for retention than people think.
Absolutely. We incorporated the self-guided tours a few years ago, and thinking that, nobody wants to deal with people anymore, but they want to come when they want to come. It was a great concept, and, it still is. However, in meeting with my team, I was like, somehow we still have to build in somewhat of a sale, we have to personalize it. And we came up with what I think is the best idea. And I think right now we're the only company doing it, but we personalized the self-guided tour. We, we created these numbers. So like if you have a USB chart, like we pointed out the hot topics that are in the large windows and left them with a flyer that said, number one is check out this. And then, with the QR code, so they have to scan it at the back of the door before they walk out. Apply now. We just took it a little bit further than, because I know me, I'm the one, I don't want to deal with people. I've been in the apartment, so I want to walk it myself. But really proud that it was a great team collaboration, and other companies have asked me about it and said, that's so cool. What a great idea. Because though their person's walking when they want to, there's still, I don't know. I feel like we just went that extra mile and, hey, you're not alone. We are still here for you and want this, you to choose this home. So
Where, if you look at the next, 3-5 years, where do you feel like AI or technology can help, either enhance the resident experience or help on-site teams or help corporate teams that we're not seeing today? Because we have AI leasing tools, we have
right.
Renewal tools, review tools. Do you feel like there's anything that you think there should be more technology to help on-site corporate or residents?
I've sat through, we're with software and they have an AI generated, and I just wasn't impressed. Again, there's so much technology and we have adapted to quite a bit of it, and more so to ease the workflow, I think. Eliminate a lot of the paperwork and all that. But I don't know. I really don't know how much more that we could do and lose, the personalization. Kind of scary, actually. I definitely think it helps. I will see, regional managers, property managers using GPT and AI to communicate with owners, which is a godsend because, with the grammar and whatever, it just, it gives them a more professional. I love that. But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting.
Well,
yeah.
Kara, thank you for this. This has been really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope this was your first podcast?
Ever. Yes.
I hope it was good. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I think this is really interesting. You also have a really inspiring story.
Thank you.
And the amount of hardship and challenges that I feel like you've gone through, and for you to kind of overcome all of that and be in the position you are today is really inspiring. And I feel like people are going to really value that.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, I was going to pretend you were my therapist, but I didn't really mean it, and I did. So thank you. You made it very easy, and enjoyed talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you.